Well, I am pretty freshly back from PAX at the time of this recording, and I'm hoping it doesn't show up in the results that I'm about to do. I'm hoping you can't tell the kind of just general fatigue from having worked a show, but looking forward to getting back into this, and just wanted to say before we get started, this one's for Cuppa. As I said on Discord, your kind words are giving me the fuel to get this thing going tonight when I'm not filled with a ton of energy, but know that I've got to get an episode out. So, thank you, Cuppa. This one's thanks to you.
Stranded in space on a ship crashing into the atmosphere of an unknown planet, Emile Spencer knew that the only way to survive would be by his own wits and guile. He vowed that somehow he would find and slay the titanic cosmic beast that put him in this predicament, VY572. With every installment, we follow Emile's explorations and discoveries on this journey of revenge against all odds. I'm Midnight Jester, and this is the Left Behind Starforge series.
We've made it to a new sector. This is now the Forgotten Channel. Emile left behind all that stuff in Hyperion last time, having finished up, successfully completing the contract that he had with Deuce. Not that Deuce was especially happy about it. In fact, Deuce in return wound up changing out Shark's file so that it had Emile's picture, and is largely setting him up to have some more trouble down the road. But Emile does have a voucher functionally to get his payment on some completely different planet. Right now, however, Emile's not pursuing that. Emile went into the Forgotten Channel having followed Grudge's directions, the path that Grudge had plotted out that would get Emile at least close to the planet that Fern calls home. It's an unnamed planet. We have figured out a little bit about it last time when plotting out the sector. We found out a little bit about what's going on both it and the more nearby planet where Emile now finds himself in orbit, Anubis. Anubis is a dead world that is known to have all kinds of weird activity going on with a group of secret shipbuilders, because apparently everybody that I generate just has to be especially good at building ships. They're down on the surface, but Emile finds himself closer to the ring of discarded ships, the debris field that is around Anubis, thick enough to be like fully Saturn's rings. Lots and lots of discarded prototypes or ships that have otherwise been left here. And while Emile doesn't know it, we also determined that amongst all of this wreckage is the ship the Tyson. This is Grudge's crew who's been left to recover after the job went wrong. I think I'm going to ask the Oracle as the very first thing we do this session, actually, because I think this is going to greatly inform what this session looks like if we know, does Emile pick up on the Tyson or not? The Tyson is hiding out in a debris field and specifically is trying to hide out to recover, so I think the odds aren't wonderful. And we've never specifically seen the Stardust to be especially good with its sensors or anything like that that would justify picking up on especially secret things. But we are going to just roll for this and find out. Let's ask the Oracle, very first thing, do Emile's sensors pick up the Tyson in the debris field? And I'm going to set this as unlikely. And the results are no. Emile does not pick up on the Tyson. So he sets himself into a kind of stable orbit as well, unaware that the Tyson is there. I suppose that's the additional question. Is the Tyson aware of Emile? Do they pick up on his arrival? Because he's not being especially stealthy. So that one I'm putting at as likely. Is the Tyson aware of the Stardust? Also no, actually. Despite setting that as likely, they're not aware of each other. So interesting, they're both just kind of hidden in their own section of the debris field. They may be on very different parts of the planet right now. Both orbiting, of course, but they could possibly be on completely opposite sides, in which case it would make a lot of sense that their sensors haven't picked each other up. What would Emile be doing while he's in orbit around Anubis? Because Emile knows Anubis is not It's not Fern's world. And it may well be that we don't engage with any of this time. Emile just has tunnel vision on getting to this unnamed planet that's elsewhere in the sector, which he has picked up on. He knows where it is on the map. You know what I want to declare, actually? Because we didn't put it actively on screen during the journey to get here when we just set a course, we know that part of the way that Emile was able to get this worked out, part of the route was going to involve going through a wormhole. And I think it would be interesting to make that more on screen. So why don't we have it be that Anubis is near the wormhole, and Emile is going to have to go through to get to this other part of the sector, because we don't have a charted course between Anubis and the unnamed planet. But we do know that there's a wormhole nearby, which will get him the rest of the way. This is the one that Fern told him about, and they were working together to do. So I think the first thing Emile would be doing then is trying to determine the location of this wormhole. Like, find out a little bit more about how to, like, is it active at the time? Can he just go straight into it? Where is it? Certainly. So the way we're going to do this is we are going to gather information, because we are searching for clues, we're analyzing evidence, we're doing research, we're using the ship scanners, using coordinates and information that we got when talking with Grudge, some of the readout stuff that we had. Emile is going to sit in orbit for a little bit and get his computers just sort of scanning the area for the information he has based on the coordinates he got from Grudge and all of the information from Fern, trying to locate the precise spot where the wormhole is supposed to be. So let's make that wits roll and find out based on this. Like, we're going to find the wormhole. This roll is just going to tell us, like, how bad is getting to it going to be? How much of a problem is there between us and the wormhole? So let's gather information, and we start off with a weak hit. So the information provides new insight, but also complicates your quest. Envision what you discover, then take +1 momentum. So it's a little bit complicated. What that tells me is that we locate the wormhole, but it needs to be opened, right? It's not just ready to fly into. There's something we have to do in order to activate it. So perhaps there's a kind of, like, technological implement that is keeping this wormhole closed. It's almost like a Dyson sphere, I'm imagining, that needs to be opened up, that contains within it the wormhole. And in addition to that, in order to complicate this a little bit more, and just because I'd love to get some of the stuff we determined last time involved, I think as Emile is scanning for this and flying about in orbit, he reveals himself to the crew of the Tyson. And I think equally, Emile notices the Tyson. They become aware of each other, and I think it's clear to Emile that the Tyson was intending to hide. You know, he recognizes they're not hailing him. All of their power, the kind of ancillary power stuff, is all shut off. They're doing everything Emile would be doing if he were trying to hide in a debris field. So in summation, Emile notices that the wormhole is locked within a sort of Dyson sphere-like implement, where ideally you implement the right kind of code, it opens up, revealing a natural wormhole inside for just long enough for you to get through. Like, these things, they're not very stable, and they're dangerous to just leave out in the open. So usually, as we're determining now, usually you keep them contained technologically. In running across this wormhole container, the Stardust and the Tyson become aware of each other. And Emile is certainly aware that the Tyson did not want to be seen. I've given myself the +1 momentum from the move, but in addition to all of this, I do want to keep in mind that this entire sector is currently being influenced by the sort of pulsing influence of the beating wooden heart. Everybody in this sector is prone to getting aggravated with the other people in it and being pushed towards betrayal. And the reason I bring this up is I believe we're going to see a little shade of that with Emile and Fern here. Because Emile becomes fascinated with the Tyson, wanting to establish a connection with them, wanting to go explore and figure out more about them. Fern gets the feeling that Emile is delaying, that clearly the answer to get home is right here. It's opening up this wormhole. Why is Emile not focusing on that? And so it's nothing too big, but Fern definitely starts turning a little bit more of a less calm shade. There are little color streaks that indicate a little bit of the stress that Fern is undergoing as Emile starts steering the ship rather than closer to the wormhole implement, moving it to get a better view of the Titan and opening up a channel. Because while Emile doesn't know it, there's some part of him that's being manipulated to try and get himself closer to the wooden heart. Emile tells Fern, "Gee, just be patient, all right? I mean, come on. It would be a terrible idea to know that there's somebody out there hiding that might have weapons trained on us and not at least open up communication. But you just want me to turn our back, ignore them, and be utterly vulnerable just in pursuit of going back to your home? We gotta do this safely. Had enough trouble along the way. Now, is that okay with you?" I think at that kind of mocking tone, Fern just slides out of the room and doesn't want to be dealing with Emile right now. They're frustrated with each other. Emile is going to try and open up a channel directly to the Titan, a very narrow band transmission that he's going to try and aim directly at the Titan's position so that hopefully it's not picked up by anybody else. It's kind of like the functional equivalent of whispering Titan rather than putting it in the entirety of the internet around here. I think it's relatively simple. He's just trying to communicate the idea that he's kind of a, I didn't see nothing sort of thing. Like, I'm just trying to move about my own way, so you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. My business is with the wormhole. All that sort of thing. If it weren't for the sector trouble of everybody being kind of on edge and against each other and a little bit paranoid of betrayal, I don't think I would make a roll out of this. But because there is that trouble, I am going to make Emile actually make a compel roll to convince them that it's just going to be using heart, but convince them that he is going to leave them alone and he expects the same in return. Persuade them to not make this an issue. So let's make that heart roll. And the results are... we get a weak hit that I could turn into a strong hit by burning momentum. So right now it's that there's a condition or a complication to this. I would envision their counteroffer and take +1 momentum. And in order to get an idea of what their counteroffer might be, I'm going to do a character oracle here. We're just going to do a character goal to get an idea of they have a leader. What are they up to right now? Build a relationship is what I get. That makes me think of perhaps whoever's on the comms is actually not the leader. And in fact, whoever is on comms is a little bit worried about their leader. This person is perhaps a little bit less influenced by the pull of the wooden heart. Maybe they have their own beliefs that make them see that as a little bit more of a blasphemy or dangerous, or one way or another, they don't want anything to do with it. But the captain of this ship very much does. And the person on comms is perhaps saying that if it were up to them, they would absolutely leave Emile alone. That seems completely reasonable. But the captain seems a little bit out of their mind right now and a little paranoid. And if the captain finds out about him, the captain very well might start just kind of taking more aggressive actions. And so the demand, which is not really posed as a demand exactly, but more just, here's the wrinkle in this. This person on the comms is asking for Emile's help in taking over the ship. They think the captain is not suitable for duty. They think the captain is out of their mind, but need the help in this sort of mutiny. Let's find out a little bit about this person on the comms. I'm going to roll for various things that Emile won't, strictly speaking, be aware of, but we will, and we'll be able to use that to give proper characterization to this person. So first off, let's make a roll for them. I rolled the character roll oracle and got the result of 98, which tells me to roll twice. So let's do this again. They are both a leader, or certainly an aspiring one, and a technician. Perhaps this person is more of an engineer on this ship, probably kind of similar to Emile as far as their capabilities and where they excel. They take care of keeping all of the technology in order on the ship, routing the power appropriately, fixing things that are broken. They're in charge of all of that. But they also definitely think that they could be doing a better job as captain at the very least right now. We're going to do an initial disposition that Emile picks up on through the mic. Desperate. Okay, so yeah, that'll definitely play into. I'm going to role play that out a little bit once I know a little bit more about how to characterize this person. We'll play out that comm between Emile and, well, might as well roll the name right now. Let's roll a call sign. Phantom. Okay, this person goes by Phantom, and so we will do the call between Emile and Phantom in a bit. I just want to figure out a little bit more about what they're like. Initial disposition we already did. Revealed character aspect. Bitter. That's maybe something that Emile's less aware of, but I'm actually going to do yet another one. So they are bitter, aggressive, and then one more. Violent. Wow, okay. I think that's definitely something Emile's not aware of. This person may well be lying to Emile, it sounds like. Phantom sounds like they are either lying to Emile or definitely not giving him the full story about all of this. It sounds like Phantom really wants to make a fight. Now, this doesn't mean that Phantom's violent and aggressive tendencies and bitterness are towards the captain, strictly speaking. That may be outward facing, and in fact, I think I am going to interpret it that way. I mean, we do know that they worked with Grudge in like heist stuff. Like these are more roguish types of people in general. Phantom's got a lot of anger burning up inside, it sounds like. And in addition to that, thinks the captain is not fit for duty, wants some secret outside help in order to stack the deck a little bit more in this mutiny attempt. Okay, so Emile sends this narrow-banded communication, sends it over, pings the Tyson directly with the message that indeed just says, "Greetings. I'm identifying this ship as the Stardust. Moving through this sector, on my way in an attempt to open up the wormhole and leave here. Wanted to say a friendly hello, even though it does not look like you're much in the mood for conversations. I just want to get out of here. I don't mean any trouble. I don't really care what your business is around here. You let me go, we're all good." Then there's a bit of a pause from the other line, and then coming back from the other end, the radio crackles back on, and Emile hears, "Yep, copy that. This is the Tyson over here. Phantom speaking. Look, I'd love to just let you go and give you no trouble, but I don't know if I can fully promise that. It's not coming from me, but we've got a bit of a situation over here that may well be complicating things a little bit beyond just it all going that smoothly. We've got a bit of a disagreement among the crew members of the Tyson, and things been getting a little bit heated in the other room in a way that I don't find very productive. If you're able to help us put an end to this disagreement and make sure that they see things my way, well, I'm perfectly willing to let you through here and think nothing of it, so can't promise so much for the other people around here. What do you say? Think you can maybe help them see things my way?" What exactly are you getting at there? You might need to be a little bit more specific before I agree to anything in particular. And again, what with how paranoid everybody is right now, due to the influence of the sector, while I might ordinarily just say the result of that, I think I want that to be another compel. I'm kind of interested in giving a lot of opportunities for the dice to say that things were taken the wrong way or stuff like that, because I think that would really support the problem of this sector. And so let's make another compel roll, again with heart, to try and determine if Emile can get him to be more on record about how, like, I want you to help me commit a mutiny, basically. So rolling with heart, and we get... There we go. And this is why I was rolling, because honestly right now, while ordinarily this would be a real problem, I'm kind of excited by it this time. This is a miss with a match. A double 6 match. And my momentum is 6, so I can't cancel it out. They refuse or make a demand that costs you greatly, pay the price. And of course, that's just what happens on a miss. Because it's a miss with a match, it's got to be even worse than that. I think that the match is definitely going to have to do with the fact that other people on the Tyson become aware of this channel. Like, this stops being a secretive thing, and this more out of his mind captain or something is going to become aware. That's definitely going to be part of this. So how does that happen in the process of the refusal? Let's see. I think what starts off at first is that Phantom just flat out refuses, saying, "What, are you kidding me? Come on. You can put certain pieces together and not ones that I'm willing to just say out loud over the comms. The walls are only so thick around here, you know what I mean?" And then while that's happening, I think the Tyson is going to activate a kind of tractor beam on Emile's ship. It starts pulling him in closer and closer to their location. Emile can't get his controls to operate anymore and gets on the comms and says, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on. You said it was up to me." And Phantom says from the other side, "This is not my doing, man. I'm not the one activating." "I mean, bullshit. Your ship is the one towing me in right now. Shut it down." "I'm not an idiot." "I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm not the one doing it. Somebody else on the ship must have gotten it operational." "Well, you're on the ship. Shut it down." "I don't know what to tell you. Somebody else on the ship must have gotten you." "Since it sounds like you're coming our way no matter what, you might want to consider my offer because, well, let's just say, I don't think the captain's going to be quite as kind about it all. See you soon." And the Tyson just shuts off communications. So Emile is currently being tractored in towards the Tyson, and does not especially like that. Definitely doesn't like this not being under his control. Starting to think that Fern might have had the right idea about just ignoring all of this and getting out of here. So Emile is going to try desperately to just get out of this tractor beam. I think on a double 6 complication and everything, I'm not even going to make this like a scene challenge. It's just going to be a one roll kind of thing. He's going to live or die by this roll to try and get his ship to be able to purge the influence of it. And I think the best way you could do that is by trying to lean into his EMP blast capabilities. If Emile can target a blast directly at the Tyson and just shut it down, disable that ship, clearly its ability to tow him in would be gone completely. So according to my talent, when I make moves aided by the energy to attack or overcome obstacles, and in this case it's overcome obstacles, I'm going to get to add +2 to my roll, and I will lose 1 from this firebrand track. So I'm going to set that from 2 to 1 right now, but this will give me a +2 on my face danger to attempt to regain control of the ship. And he is doing this by indeed trying to channel a blast in a very directed fashion out through some glass or a part of the ship that doesn't have anything really energetic going on. Because he's not like out in space or anything, but he's going to blast this towards the Tyson and see, can he get it disabled? I think it is fair to say that this is going to be one of two things. It's either agility based in his ability to aim it. You could argue it's strength, endurance, or aggression, just in that this is an aggressive act, but I don't think it's inherently about his ability to just be aggressive enough to shut it down. It really is more about, can he aim this well and focus the blast to not take out his own ship in the process. So we're going to call this an edge roll, and we're going to get to add +2 from channeling our inner fire, or not fire, but, you know, our inner EMP. This time I get a weak hit, and not one that I can correct with momentum. On a weak hit, you succeed, but not without a cost. Make a suffer move -1. I think it makes the most sense to just lose some momentum on this. We'll set it back down from 6 to 5. Because indeed, it takes Emile a moment. He has to really take his time aiming it because he wants to be sure, and he wants it to be close enough that he expects he'll be able to make the blast get there. So he has to wait longer than expected, which means he's farther off course from where he wants to be by the time he regains control of the ship. But he does get it. He's able to blast the Tyson and shut off its power. Now, in some respects, it's not immediately obvious because he wasn't in current radio contact with them and their lights weren't on or anything. But what's a lot more observable is the fact that the pulsing concentric blue tractor beam circles that are wrapping up Emile's ship and slowly towing him inwards, those immediately halt. Emile picks up on that and recognizes that there may only be a small window on this. There's no telling how long the EMP will last. It may just be a reboot process. Who knows? So Emile needs to act quickly, and there's a big decision point to be made here. He could try and gun it to just get out of here and get towards the containment device on the wormhole, try and crack it open and get out of here before the Tyson comes back. But of course, if he's too slow at that, like, it could take a while to crack this thing open, and they'll probably be much more aggressive now. Alternatively, he could take advantage of this situation where the ship is without power. He has a huge advantage here to try and just take over the situation while it's much more in his control. It would be a much more aggressive act, of course, and I think in this case it behooves Emile to indeed press his advantage while he has it. So what does that look like? I think Emile knows that he's not going to be able to he doesn't want to just blow them up. He knows that. He's not going to be a dick and just shoot them. As far as he knows, these are still fine people that don't deserve to just be killed for all of this. It's a complete misunderstanding. So he's not just going to fire upon them and destroy them, which he'd have really no trouble doing right now. What he is going to do, though, is he wants to make sure he has as much time as possible, where they are just offline and not able to fire upon him, not able to retractor him in, nothing like that. So I think what I want him to do is something we haven't done in a while. Let's try and cobble together an ad hoc tool. Emile is going to use this opportunity to try and make a device that he can hopefully plant on the outside of their ship that will basically continue to keep them disabled, like keep sending out little pulses that'll disrupt systems, inject a virus into their computer system, like basically keep them busy so that they can't do anything, so that they can't focus their efforts on him. They've got too many other problems. Emile is basically just going to make a physical virus. Now he has to plant it. It's going to stick magnetically to the outside of the ship, but he'll have to get it in position and do that for it to work. But if it does, it's going to keep on a timer for as long as its power holds out, blasting this ship with new problems where it'll keep shutting their power off, or at least subsystems it's going to shut off. I don't think this is going to be nearly as powerful of an EMP device as Emile can channel through himself, because that's its own just kind of weird thing that bends the rules of reality. But if placed in the right place, it can knock like weapon systems online, which is the real thing he's hoping for, is just place this in a way that it's going to keep knocking out the weapon systems, and it'll be attached to their ship like a barnacle. So let's do that. Let's secure an advantage to try and make this device. Can Emile put something together with the tech that he has to just make a small version of what he has that could magnetically stick to the outside? This is definitely going to be with wits as he makes this device. And we get another weak hit, which means I can either take the 2 momentum or I can add 1 to my next move. And in addition to this, we do make the device. We get a hit. So we have this thing. We'll get to add 1 when using it anyway. So with that in mind, I think I'm just going to take the 2 momentum, bringing me up to a momentum of 7. As Emile, it's a really jury-rigged thing. It's nothing that would last all that long. It's pretty simple, but you stick it on in the right place and it'll periodically knock out their weapon systems. And I think part of the reason why it's periodic is to give them just enough hope that things are working to like get out of position, get back to their stations, try and, target Emile's ship, and then just before they do, it shuts back off again. It gives you just enough time to hope that you've solved the problem. And in fact, perhaps the idea behind this device is periodically it makes them okay again. Like sporadically and randomly, so it's really hard to determine like what did you do right, what did you do wrong. It's a real confusion device. Because yeah, I think it'll indeed be like, it like magnets onto the ship and will like send in almost like a drill. Maybe that's a little bit too much to maybe it can't turn it back on, but still, it keeps them confused for as long as possible. So now, Emile needs to deliver this implement. Now, the stealthiest way to do this would be kind of the old style where, like, doing it physically with his own body, doing a little bit of a spacewalk here, just like that other time on the way to Hyperion. We still have we do still have the mobility belt that he made for that endeavor. The problem is that he and Fern are not exactly all that happy with each other right now, and Fern is going to probably see this as all the more of a distraction. I think Emile recognizes this, even brings it up, saying like as he finishes the device, he goes up to Fern and says, "All right, made a way to get ourselves out of here, keep them disabled as long as possible. Just need your help doing the old, I'm just going to need your help getting over there. I want to be as stealthy as possible. And Fern is like very aggressively communicating back, just, no, absolutely not. You solve your own problems. You can just fly over there in the ship. All of these types of things in much more simplified forms. Clearly not having it. And Emile doesn't want to waste the time arguing about it and just goes, all right, fine. If this is how you're going to be today, I'm glad we almost have you back at your own planet. I'll do it myself. Emile still does not have any kind of spacesuit. In fact, that's probably something we should have specifically tried to resupply back on Hyperion, but we didn't. And now I don't want to go that far back. So Emile does not have it. He's going to try and fly this ship over and just deliver it a little bit more manually. Perhaps if he gets close enough, he can deploy it almost like a mine, where Emile will put it inside of an airlock, open up the airlock with a little bit of a blast, like a pressurized airlock, just enough to blast it out. It'll magnetize onto the spot, and it can start working. But all of that is going to take a little bit of precision here. So Emile is going to make another move. This one is going to be, once again, I think this is really most accurately a secure an advantage. He's trying to make preparations and gain leverage more than reacting to danger. This is another edge move. I think it is fair to say this is getting the +1 from the device. Like, this basically just is the usage of the device. So we're going to make our edge roll with a +1. As Emile flies the ship into position, he can get as close as he needs to, and part of the reason this is also edge is because it's about the speed of doing this before they've recovered from his last blast. Edge with a +1, and we get a full-on miss, and I can't actually make it any better with momentum, so you fail or your assumptions betray you. Now, I did not roll a 1 on my action die, which means the device still is working. I could theoretically use it a different time if I were to recover it, but I think what happens is Emile is too slow. Emile's assumptions are that he has longer than he recognizes, and so he really tries to line up the shot to make sure it's going to be just right. And he has not yet released it from the airlock. He has it in there. He's getting ready to do that. When that ship comes back online, they get it taken care of faster than he was expecting. The power of the ship comes back online. And Emile is, as soon as they do, the tractor beam that was going live before immediately kicks back in. And because Emile is now in a much closer position, he doesn't really even have time to react before his ship is now just up against the other one with just a very short jump of a distance between the two. They're not docked specifically, because that's just not how this works. But Emile is knocked off his feet as the sudden momentum shift of being caught in the tractor beam lurches him out of position. They're right up against each other, and then perhaps the radio comes back online, and this time it's the captain's voice. The captain gets on the radio and says, well. Looks like we have some company, don't we? That's a really fancy trick you did there with the that EMP blast. I don't know. That seemed to come straight out of your ship itself. I've never seen anything quite like that. Sounds like whatever you've got on board your ship is worth quite a bit in salvage, so thanks for bringing it to us. We'll be there shortly. And folded into this miss is just going to be that Emile does not have the ability to stop it in time. Emile is not going to be able to stop the tractor beam in time or anything like that. He tries to well it up within himself to get ready to release another blast to try and shut it down, but he can't do it before they are just on his doorstep. And there's another very short wave radio that comes in as Emile starts hearing some knocking on the side of his ship. Emile starts hearing the sort of sounds of heavy boots being magnetized and tromping around on the outside of his ship. And a radio signal comes in from the captain again that says, now look, we're going to get in one way or another, but if you want your ship to still be in one piece and not make us have to cut through this fine-looking, freshly repaired hull, and here's the sound of it being knocked on a couple of times. Looks like you just spent a lot of money on this, so if you don't want it all to be cut up to shreds, why don't you just open up the airlock and let's talk this out. And now Emile does have a moment here. He could indeed easily open up the airlock and let them in, or he can try and find a way to shake them loose or something. I think I'm leaning towards the idea, like, Emile is going to try and let them in, recognizing that if they are in suits that can magnetize to the surface of his ship, then clearly they are wearing devices that will be especially susceptible to Fern's influence. So I think Emile responds that, like, no, don't cut it up. I'll let you in. It's this. Hang tight. Don't wreck this baby. You're right. A lot of money. And flips off the radio. And before he lets them into the airlock, before he starts cycling that process, Emile is going to try and compel Fern to be like, look, I know we've been at each other's throats a lot today, but I think we can probably agree that this is in both of our best interests to not have the ship be taken over. That's not going to help you get back to your planet any faster, I assure you. They're wearing magnetic suits in order to walk around on the outside of the hull. Sounds like they're very vulnerable to you. Please. In fact, really quickly, Emile is taking a look at cameras that show the outside of the hull to get an idea of, like, how many people are on the ship. How many does he have to contend with? I am going to... We know that there's at least the one. I'm going to say 50-50 chance on there being more than one, because there's not a huge crew over here. Like, we know that their full complement is not high, and they're kind of not working as well together right now. So I'm just going to say 50-50. Is there more than one person? No. When I rolled a 100 on that, so even on almost certain, that would have been a no. So there's just one person out there in the suit. Sounds like it is maybe... Oh, let's find out. Also 50-50. Is that one person the captain? Yes. It is the captain out there taking it all into their own hands. Because we haven't done it, let's find out the name for the captain. Captain's name... I guess we haven't been introduced, so no need to do that. But the captain of the Tyson is out there on his own on there. So Emile is saying to Fern all that, like compelling Fern, like, please, come on. All you got to do, wrap him up in there, keep him contained, and we'll be able to get out of here. It'll be fine. In fact, I got a contact on the inside. I'll be able to tell Phantom that he's good to go on what I'm pretty sure is a mutiny. They'll let us out of here. Please, just do this one thing and we can get you home. Sounds like a compel with heart to me. Once again, making the move because of the sector trouble here, making this sort of thing more challenging in my interpretation. We roll it and we get a miss, but I could turn it into a weak hit with burning momentum, which I think I would like to do. So I burn momentum, meaning that Fern will do what I want, but their agreement comes with a demand or complication. So what is the complication or counteroffer to all this before I get the one momentum? I think it's a relatively simple one. It's just that Fern communicates that this is the only thing I'm going to do for you. I will subsume this person to the best of my ability. But what Fern communicates is, if you don't then immediately drop everything to go to that wormhole and get me back to my planet, I'm going to release him. Like, Fern communicates, this is my leverage against you. As soon as you take any moves that are not directly in service to getting me home, if you stall at all, either here or after the wormhole, I will release him. So stay on task. And Emile definitely feels a little bit uncomfortable about all that. Thinking, like agrees to it and recognizes this is still the best course for the situation. But, like, he's starting to remember that Fern is powerful and dangerous to be around. They've been friendly, and Emile isn't really aware of exactly why they're both so testy today. Doesn't register enough to know that it's not just Fern being a jerk. But Emile starts getting a little bit scared and recognizing, like, he flashes back a little bit to what it felt like to be under Fern's control, unable to have his own sense of reality. And for a moment feels a little bit guilty that he may be subjecting somebody else to that. But right now feels like it's got to be the best course. So Emile opens up the airlock. And we're going to do this all as one big roll here. It's just going to be a face danger as Emile tries to do an ambush. So this is going to definitely be a shadow move. This is all about trickery. Now, with my momentum so low and knowing this is about to be a shadow move, even with Fern's help, I really want to try and give myself as best of a chance as possible. It's what kind of advantage can I secure here? I think, is there any way I can use my wits? Use my smart making here. Perhaps we can set something up technologically on the ship. I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to secure an advantage. However, Emile is going to use the propulsion device that allowed Fern to travel through space. Emile is going to set that up around Fern in that little bit of an awkward way where, like, it's not really, it doesn't exactly wear well on an amorphous creature, but Emile does it so that Fern can move more quickly, because there's a chance, if the captain sees Fern ahead of time, that they're going to be able to react, lock themselves down before Fern can drag them away, because, of course, if they magnetize their own boots, that could be stronger than Fern can pull anyway, and they won't be shoved over. So they got to do this as an ambush, which means it'll help if Fern can move more quickly than they're prone to. So Emile is going to gain the benefit of that device. So that device is going to give a +1. Our connection with Fern is also going to give us a +1, because Fern is definitely helping on this. So let's make this face danger with Shadow with an effective +2. We don't have enough momentum for it to be likely to save us, but let's see. Can those two things working together get us the result we want? Come on. Strong hit with a match. Hell yeah. We are successful and take +1 momentum from the strong hit. I guess I didn't need I didn't need a full +2 to make it happen, but I did need at least a +1. But anyway, strong hit with a match. So definitely the captain gets completely pulled away into Fern's body, completely subsumed and taken over with no question whatsoever. I think that maybe the match, just to keep things simple right now, is just we're going to fold in that Phantom is indeed, like, when Emile gets back on the comms with Phantom, he's able to very quickly get an agreement that, like, yep, like, I did the hard part for you. The captain is indisposed indefinitely. If you are looking to take over command of this ship, now is your time. But in addition to that, because I want Emile to know about this, I'm going to say that the match is also, Phantom is going to say something that clues Emile into the existence of the wooden heart. I think Phantom expresses relief and just goes like, "Oh, thank creation you took care of that. I gotta say, was not expecting you to be putting together such a clever ploy, but that was pretty good. Making it seem like you were out of control to get the captain over there, and then taking over the captain that quickly. And you couldn't have come at a better time, because by the sound of it, the captain was about to start bringing the heart over from the debris field and hooking it up to our own ship, and I don't even want to think about what that thing might have done. That thing is creepy. So thank you. I'll stay to my word and leave you on your way. What's your name, by the way? I gave you mine." It's Emile Spencer. "Well, good meeting you, Emile. You seem quite able to take care of yourself. I'll make sure the rest of the crew knows not to fuck with you. You got some tricks up your sleeve."
So, I don't really know how to say this exactly, but I'll just go for it. What about your captain? Do you even want him back? I'm not here to ask a lot of questions, but you don't exactly seem too bummed about the idea that I've kind of captured him.
"Is that what you did over there? If he's your prisoner, I mean, seems fair enough to me. Turn him in for the bounty for all I care. Shit, I forget how much it's up to, but you've earned it. This is a company where only the strong get to stay on top, so if the captain's fallen out of line and gotten himself captured, well, don't worry about it. Shit, he's not even the real captain. He only assumed that position when Grudge left."
Wait a minute, hold on. Did you say Grudge?
"Yeah. Why, you know her?"
Not very well, but did just run into her back at Hyperion Station.
"Hyperion Station, huh? Glad she made it. We'll have to catch back up with her." And I think Emile picks up a little bit of an indication that, like, Phantom is kind of faking a kindness in his voice during that part. Phantom is definitely masking a little bit of bitterness. You know, we rolled that earlier when determining some of Phantom's traits, and I think this bitterness is definitely towards having been abandoned on the last job. Emile kind of let the cat out of the bag on that and is only now realizing it. He makes kind of a mental note to himself like,
oh, I might want to give Grudge a bit of fair warning.
But of course, there's no time for that now, and he doesn't want to fuck up this situation.
So yeah, ransom him, throw him out into space. I don't care. He's your problem now. You seem capable enough. I'm sure you'll be fine. Anyway, if we run into each other again, you're okay by my book. So, good flying out there, Mr. Spencer.
And so, part of this match, I think this is going to represent Emile's growing reputation throughout the galaxy. He's starting to make a name for himself with a few people as somebody who can get stuff done, and this is just one more point of people who are impressed with him who, I think as a result of the match, maybe spreading this story. It's not just that Phantom knows, it's that Phantom is going to like spread this tale in the next cantina he gets access to. Emile's legend grows, which means it's going to be more likely in the future if we check to see if people already know who Emile is. I'm going to start making that more and more likely. And sometimes that'll be a good thing and sometimes that'll be a bad thing, but I think overall people will be more prone, unless they have a reason not to, people are going to be more prone to wanting to interact with him if they've heard of him, because he's cultivating this good reputation. Now, he's definitely got some questions about who exactly is this Phantom that he's cultivated some reputation with. Emile is not so certain that this is a dude that he wants to spend a lot of time around, just based on the way he's interacting and his thoughts on his own captain and all of that. He liked Grudge a little bit more than Phantom, but considering they were all on the same crew, who knows if he would think the same thing about Grudge if he got to have a longer conversation with her, but all the same, right now he could use any kind of ally he can get, so not looking a gift horse in the mouth. And so Emile, not wanting to waste a moment, and knowing that Fern, he's like watching Fern's color change into more and more of an impatient shade. Like the impatient shade is getting more and more vibrant, almost like it's on a timer. And Emile recognized like, right, yep, look, I gotta get off the line and hurry, but good luck to you out there. And Emile flies closer over to the wormhole, recognizing that while he does not have any kind of official code to crack this open or anything like that, this is an electronic system. This is what he's made for. He can absolutely hack his way into this thing and get it to open up. This is what he lives for. I think this thing is designed for starships to be able to basically send out some quick signals to it in order, like it's basically like a garage door opener. Like you send out a radio frequency with the right code to get it to open up. And so Emile doesn't have to like manipulate this physically in order to do it. He doesn't have to get out of his ship and get right up to it. He can do this from his command console. He gets a program in the works to start working through and cracking the outer layers of the system. I'm going to do this as face danger instead of secure an advantage, because what's risky about this is that I'm going to declare there are defenses on this wormhole in order to make it, like, they don't want you to fuck with it, right? It's dangerous. It's dangerous to bring it out of containment the wrong way or anything like that. And if he does this not quite right, it could really wind up, like, he might wind up inside this wormhole, but in the wrong way. It could damage his ship. You definitely don't want to screw this up. And so it's not just secure an advantage. We're going to face danger with wits, giving ourselves a +1 from tech, and we get another strong hit, giving us one more momentum, setting it at a momentum of 5. Piece of cake. Emile gets his computer on it, hacks this thing open. All kinds of little hatches start unlocking themselves. There's like different chevrons moving out of position. It opens up like a Stargate, kind of. Rings lock themselves into position. It fully unfurls and makes this hole where it's not the like liquid shimmery pool like in Stargate that you would see. Instead, I feel like it's utter blackness. You can't see the stars through it or anything. It's just this utter intimidating looking void, as if light can't escape from it. Emile points his ship in, knowing that this is of course a key part of getting to Fern's planet. Fires his engines and gets himself sucked in. From the outside, the ship elongates almost like a little bit of spaghettification, or like when you're watching ships jump into hyperspace in Star Wars. But as for what Emile finds on the other side, well, that's a question for next time. So I'm just getting through editing this episode, and I've come to realize that clearly there were more pauses in there that I wound up editing out than usual. Usually I aim for a certain set record time, and that's a good indication that by the time I edit things down, it'll be, approximately an hour of podcast. Usually it works out. Clearly this time there was a lot more empty space because obviously this one is quite short. I'm just chalking it up to my post-PAX energy being a little bit low. Next time I will make up for it. Not necessarily in a literal time sense, but we'll get back in the mix. I'll make sure that the action keeps on flowing. There's going to be more going on. That's my intention anyway. I don't know. Let's do the prompt stuff. Inspired a little bit by the purring of my cat next to me that maybe is picking up on the mic, maybe not. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Let's make it pick up on the mic. My cat is here with me right now, and as a response to that, I think this week's prompts we're going to have to go with a pet. I want to know about a creature that is being kept as a pet, not necessarily by humans, could be by anything, use your creativity, but the specific words to use to help generate this idea of a pet are peaceful and hideaway. I want you to use peaceful and hideaway to come up with an idea for a pet that some kind of creature keeps. Again, doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a human pet necessarily. If you really want extra credit to design an alien race, go ahead and let me know what you come up with, and as always, send the idea over to starforgepod@gmail.com. And without anything else to say, I'm just going to skip to the part where I say, play me out, music.